Alright, hello friends, Tal here, and welcome to another Legion beta build video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the latest beta build that was released yesterday, so Tuesday. A little bit different than usual. It usually comes out on Thursday, so I wasn't super ready for it, but it came out on Tuesday, the 7th of June. It wasn't too much of a big build, just a couple of minor little changes here and there for the tanks at least. Nothing too big. I mean, there was a lot of new music that was added, a couple of different items. Nothing too much that I have to point out. But anyways, let's just get into it. The biggest change I would say here is specifically for the Brewmaster Monk, but not in the way that you might expect. Their abilities weren't changed. Nothing got removed or added or changed by nothing. The artifact traits were changed for the Brewmaster Monk. Now this is good in two different. This is good and bad, I should say. Good because the artifact traits for the Brewmaster are a lot better now. After I did my little quick look over and checked out how it was, it looks a lot better. Bad because you still have to go and get those artifact traits. Like, let me be really clear with the things I say. Maybe I'm a little too pessimistic when I'm taking a look at all of this, but I'm also very clear in that I'm saying, these artifact traits, they are important. They are really, really, really important. And the Brewmaster ones, just the fact that they got buffed up and made them really good, it just makes me really worried that until you have them maxed out, you're really not going to get the full benefit of your class, and it's going to discourage people from trying it out. And we're going to get into a situation where maybe people don't really play Brewmaster for the first tier, but it was amazing. It's just that nobody could really afford to focus too much on getting the artifact trait. I'm sure that most raiders will have most of their artifact finished by the time the first raid tier comes out, but you could be in a situation where no, it's not possible to get all those artifact traits. Maybe you can't max it out in the very first tier. Maybe it takes you the second tier to max it out. And then you could see a situation where Brewmasters just aren't used because until they have all their artifact traits, they're just not good. Definitely something to think about, something to discuss. But anyways, let's just jump right into it. Demon Hunters. Havoc got a few changes, but we're here to talk about Vengeance. Now, something to say is that all the artifact traits actually have this artificial damage and artificial stamina thing attached to them. Basically, as you unlock traits, you increase the damage that you deal by 1% up to 34 traits, and you increase your stamina by 0.75% for up to 34 traits. It's just a way of scaling you up a little tiny bit each trait that you unlock. It's just a further way of progression. There's nothing you need to keep in mind, nothing you need to worry about. It just happens, but it is something to note that it works up to 34 traits. I'm assuming because I don't actually know how many traits each artifact has, but I'm assuming that at one point maybe you don't care about some of the traits, and this is a good way to encourage you to get up to 34. Just something to keep in mind. But anyways, big change for the Demon Hunter is just one thing. Darkness was nerfed again. Now, I've been saying this since the spell came out. Darkness is potentially one of the best tanking cooldowns to exist in this game. And it's very simple. A boss does a lot of spells, they do a lot of auto attacks, they do a lot of little unique things that tanks have to be aware of, things that'll kill a tank during the fight. But the biggest, and what's almost always at least 50% or more of the damage a tank will take, is auto attack damage. What Darkness does is it surrounds you in a cloak for 8 yards, enclosing basically you and your friendly targets, and making sure that they are given a originally 30% chance to miss any spell or melee attack that hits them. That was the original inception of Darkness. 30% chance to not get hit by a spell and not get hit by a melee attack for you and your raid team. Now, obviously, it has to be tested whether that would work. For example, as Arcane Explosion. Like if you get Arcane Explosion, your raid team 10 people get hit by it. You have Darkness down. Does that make some people have a chance not to be hit by it? Does it mean everyone still gets hit by it, but it's because it's an AoE and not like a Shadow Bolt that physically travels in the air? That was yet to be determined. But at minimum, you were assured that whoever was tanking was going to be hit 30% less often by auto attacks and spells that the boss would cast. So that was very, very powerful. And Vengeance Demon Hunters are the only type of tank that has it. So then that was reduced to a 20% chance to be hit. And now it's been reduced to a 15% chance to avoid all damage from an attack. So the wording's been changed. It's not saying melee, it's not saying spell. It's saying that within 8 yards, cloak your friendly targets and grants a 15% chance to avoid all damage from an attack. Obviously, this sounds like a nerf. I wouldn't be able to say for specifically what what the change is. Does it still count spells and melee attacks? Does it mean you can avoid if RNG is in your favor, could you say avoid every single melee attack for 8 seconds? I'm not sure. The wording almost makes it seem like you have a one-time chance to avoid all damage from one attack. Um, that has to be tested, obviously. And I'll definitely be doing that a little bit and then giving you a little bit of an update the next time I talk about Vengeance. But Darkness was a very, very powerful cooldown. I don't want to see it be made null and void. I don't want to see them nerf it to the ground. But it has been changed again, and I'm not sure yet whether that is a positive or negative change. Obviously, changing it from 20% to 15% is a nerf in and of itself, but I don't know if the wording has changed the way that it works and has potentially ruined the spec. The spell, not the spec, the spell. That is yet to be determined. But that's basically the only thing that Vengeance has to worry about as far as being changed. For Blood, it looks like there's a couple of changes here, but nothing that's obvious. For example, as you can see back in Vengeance, it says Demon Spikes is new, but it has the exact same wording, exact same cost, exact same recharge, charges, all that as the old one. It looks like that happened with Asphyxiate as well, but they're saying that's a level 60 ability, I guess, that you get now. Not really sure if anything's changed there. Mirror Rends giving you still 3 charges of Bone Shield. Bone Shield still does the same thing. And then, of course, the artifact trait boost up that all the specs with the artifacts got. So, all in all, I don't actually think that Blood has changed at all. So, still pretty much the way that it was. Let me just check here. Death Strike, has it been changed? Nope, still healing you for the same amount. Now, I do want to mention, they went back and when they reduced the healing that Death Strike does, they said that was because Bone Shield now counts as an absorption shield instead of like a damage reduction. I'm not a mathy guy, and I can't really explain it exactly, but it does seem like that was a buff to Death Strike. What I can say is that playing it on the beta, still to this day, Death Strike healing just feels like a wet noodle. You need all your artifact traits for it, and even then it's really not going to do all that much. Consumption still feels like Death Strike of old, just doesn't give you the blood shield. So just something to keep in mind. Then we're coming over here into the Druid, but don't think that Guardian actually got too much changed up for them. As you can see here, Bark Skin is still the exact same, the wording, nothing's changed there as long as the cooldown or anything like that. Iron Fur as well, I think just like tooltip updates or just changes in the data mining. Of course, data mining is not always accurate, so just keep that in mind. But it doesn't look like any of this has actually changed at all. Galactic Guardian says it has a 10% chance to trigger a free automatic Moonfire. It was previously 50, but that was a typo, that was a mistake, that was a bug. It got reduced to 5. Now it's been changed to 10. So it's a little bit of a buff to Galactic Guardian, which will be welcomed. I like Galactic Guardian. I just didn't use it in my video because I was sure and I was right that it was bugged and it was not going to be an accurate representation of what playing Guardian Druid would be like. So then we're going to go ahead and move down here. We have Monk. So, what has changed for Monk? None of this. None of this has changed at all. Except for the fact that it looks like they changed a little bit of the wording on Stagger. So when you have high tolerance, the talent, the level 110, it shows up in the tooltip, it looks like. But the big change for the Monk is the artifact traits. And we're going to go ahead and open this up over here. I'm not going to go over this just yet. I'm going to finish the patch notes as far as the other classes go, but that is the biggest change from this build, and it is, again, a both welcome and potentially bad change. Potentially bad thing for the future of the Monk spec. So let's just keep going down. Protection Paladin, doesn't look like Protection actually changed too much. It still has same wording, same everything. Charges of Blessed Hammer. I remember speaking about this in my Protection Paladin dungeon run. It has 3 charges now, which is going to be great because it's going to have more things that you can press. It's going to be fantastic. Blessed Hammer is already a really good ability. Kind of sucks that you have to make sure the animations clip and everything, but it's a good ability either way. Helps give you some damage reduction. And then going down to Prot Warrior, which I, again, don't think actually changed in any way, shape, or form. It looks like some of the the formulas for the damage that it does was moved around and changed, but as far as shield block and ignore pain, all of that is still the same. The other thing is Protection has Ravager. that's going to be 8 yards for 7 seconds is how long Ravager is going to last. But the parry that you get from Ravager, which is 30% parry, lasts for 12 seconds. So it's a buff in the sense that you have the parry for longer. The Ravager is going to last less, but the parry chance is going to be up for longer. So nice. I really like Ravager. Honestly, when I was playing him, especially in dungeons, Ravager is just such a fun ability to use, and giving you that parry is all well and good. So that's it for the spells essentially. For the patch notes, not that there's patch notes, but for the data mining, nothing too crazy besides the darkness nerf slash change and the artifact traits for the Brewmaster. So let's go ahead and take a look at those now. So Exploding Keg is going to be buffed. It's going to make all enemies hit by it miss their next melee attacks for their melee attacks for the next 3 seconds. Fantastic. It used to be just one melee attack, and that was literally the stupidest thing I've ever seen. But with it being melee attacks for the next 3 seconds, you have a very powerful, just guaranteed dodge essentially for 3 seconds. Fast hitting mobs are going to be, you're going to be dodging all their stuff, and very slow hard hitting bosses or mobs won't be as affected as much, but you won't be bursted down by their slow auto attack. So it's good change overall for Exploding Keg. We're just going to go ahead and go over all the artifact traits now, because I could read exactly what changed and everything, but I would rather just read what the artifact traits do now, because I feel like it's going to give me a more complete picture of what the changes are. So the very first one is going to be increasing the damage dealt by Keg Smash by 10%. This is what you get as soon as you get the artifact. This is basically how they teach you about the artifact traits, so you're going to get this guaranteed. Then you have Gifted Student, increases the healing done by healing spheres from Gift of the Ox by 3%. You have Obstinate Determination. Gift of the Ox summons an additional healing sphere when your health drops below 35%. Face Palm. Tiger Palm has a 15% chance to reduce the remaining cooldown of Iron Skin Brew and Purifying Brew by 1 additional second, which is nice because your brew charges are really, really important to keep track of that and make sure purifying is a lot more important in Legion than it was in WoD. It's a lot more important because you don't actually reduce any damage taken unless you're purifying the damage that you're staggering. That's the big change that they've done to Brewmasters. Now, as far as the rest of this, these two things don't really matter as much. Healing spheres are important, but you don't have too much control over them. Then you have your first big trait, Dragonfire Brew. When you use Breath of Fire, you breathe fire 2 additional times, each dealing a percentage of the attack as fire damage. So that's nice, just extra AoE damage. I don't think this is actually a thing. Pretty sure. I haven't actually seen it in my artifact, but I don't really know what's going on with that. If I'm being super honest, I don't think this exists, but it's weird that it would keep showing up in here. But I'll check on my monk video. I still have to do that. Then you have Potent Kick. Increases the duration of Iron Skin Brew by 0.5 seconds per rank. Adjunct Advantage. Increases the damage of Breath of Fire by 5%. Obsidian Fist increases the critical strike chance of Blackout Strike by 3%. Overflow, each time Gift of the Ox generating a healing sphere, it has a 10% chance to instead generate a greater healing sphere that heals for twice as much. And you can actually, I think there's some relics that you can get that increase this, so you have about, obviously with the ranks you can have a 30% chance to make a greater healing sphere, but you can even go higher, so that's pretty awesome. Dark Side of the Moon. Blackout Strike also reduces the damage of your target's next auto attack against you by 2%, which is good because Blackout Strike has no purpose besides just being a filler. So it's good that this will also, if you time it right, you'll be able to reduce the next melee attack or auto attack that a target's going to be doing to you. So that's good. They have a defensive benefit. Healthy Appetite increases your maximum health by a certain amount. Activating Fortifying Brew, Purifying Brew, or Iron Skin Brew increases your movement speed by 6% for 15 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. That's nice, I guess, but Brewmasters have never really needed passive movement speed. Smashed, increase the range of Keg Smash by 10 yards. This is hilarious because it's already it's going to make it into a very long range attack if you get some relics for it. Staggering around. Fortifying Brew increases the damage you delay with Stagger by an additional 2%. Then you have Fortification. Activating Fortifying Brew grants you 25% dodge for 21 seconds. And then Brew Stash. Activating Purifying Brew or Iron Skin Brew grants you 10% dodge for 1.5 seconds. Now, I'm starting to think that I'm missing something here, because I remember very specifically that there was some other changes that happened. Let's see. I can look at any of that. Okay, so if we come down here, let's see. Okay, so the artifact traits, it looks like when you actually go into the calculator, they're not entirely complete, but Adjunct Advantage is the one that increases the Breath of Fire's damage, but it's also going to reduce the damage that that target does to you by 2% as well, and it stacks up. It's very much like Blackout Strike, in that you're now going to have both of those buttons that previously didn't do any sort of damage reduction. You're going to have an ability to reduce damage that's done to you, and you can choose when it goes off. Yes, you should probably, just use it all the time, but also you can very specifically use it on a very specific ability just to give yourself a bit of a breather room or just extra passive damage reduction. So that's good. All of those changes I would say are good. They're very positive for the Brewmaster, but my issue is still in the way that they play. You put yourself in a situation where you're trying to keep up Ironskin Brew, but you're not supposed to. You're trying to purify as much as you can. You're desperate for healing because of healing spheres. And the talent that I'm going to get more into this in my actual dungeon run because it's things that I really think need to be said. But Gift of the Mists makes proccing a Gift of the Ox Orb happen more often. But honestly, for more difficult content, and it looks like what people have been saying in Mythic Dungeons and potentially raid testing, you're going to be taking Light Brew in because you need those extra charges. Um, the issue is you put yourself in a situation where you're trying to keep up Ironskin Brew, but you're not supposed to. You really aren't, according to Celestalon, and you're supposed to be purifying as much as often. So I think Brewmaster is still at its core in a very confused spot. It doesn't play like it used to. It can be very confusing and isn't entirely clear what you're supposed to be doing in what situation. And on top of that, just spoiler alert from my dungeon run video, you regen energy so quickly. And you would think that's a really good thing because it means you can Tiger Palm and Keg Smash whenever. But if you're a type of person that doesn't like capping on energy, but you also like making sure that all your abilities are on cooldown, that you're rotating them right, you're doing everything the way you're supposed to be. If you're the type of person that doesn't like opportunity cost, you're going to get fucked on the Brewmaster. The energy regens so quick. I have times when I feel like I just have to spam Tiger Palm to get it down so I don't feel like I'm wasting the energy. But then my Blackout Strike and my, Breath of Fire is just sitting there taunting me, and right now, because I don't have the artifact traits, it's not doing anything. But when they do reduce damage, it's going to be a bit of a mess. It really is. And maybe that's the way they're designed. Maybe they're not. I have no idea. I really wouldn't be able to tell you. But you'll see that more in the dungeon room. But anyways, guys, that's been the latest beta build that came out yesterday, the 7th of June. Pretty interesting changes all around. The changing of darkness. I don't want to call it nerf just yet. I'm not sure. And then the additional changes to the artifact traits of the Brewmaster. Anyways, guys, if you want to go ahead and subscribe to the channel, see more of this type of content, you can also drop the video a like. And of course, if you ever want to feel like donating, you have the Patreon option. You can also do fan funding here on YouTube, which is basically a donation method. You can donate whatever you like. And then there's, of course, the subscribing or sponsoring on YouTube Gaming, very much like a Twitch subscription if you want to go ahead and see when I'm live streaming. I live stream a variety of games, sometimes WoW, more often Here's the Storm and Overwatch. But thank you guys. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video.